Okay, this is Born Thatch with the Spartan Brotherhood World 98 again. This tutorial is going to be about troop information, not how to use them, simply what they are and how they work. So, let me start out. As you can see, there are a total of 6 buildings that let you recruit troops. There is another one, but I'll get to that later because it's a little strange in how it works. To recruit a Berserker, you need the training ground at level 1. You also need a barracks to hold it. So, think of it like the training ground being the generator and the barracks being the capacitor. The generator creates the energy, the capacitor holds it. So, for everything you want to create, you have to have capacity for it. This is true with every unit, except one that I'll get to later. Now, a training ground will let you recruit a Berserker, a Ranger, and a Guardian at different levels. Berserker requires a training ground at level 1, a Ranger, the training ground at level 4, and the Guardian, the training ground has to be level 10. And remember, level 10 is the highest level you can get any building in this game. So, let's look at some other stuff. Stable, you can get a Scout, Crossbowman, or Knight. Moonglow Tower, Mages, and Warlocks. Only 2 units for the Moonglow Tower. The Trinsic Temple will let you get 3 units, however, you're only going to use 2 of them in combat, the Templar and the Paladin. The Baron, although it is a unit, and you can use it like that, it has a special goal. You can use the Baron to settle an empty space on region view. Go back and show you that. So if I had a Baron recruited, 25,000 iron, 25,000 wood, 100,000 wood, 25,000 iron, 25,000 food, 100,000 wood, and 100,000 stone, along with a requisite number of carts, I could settle this space. All I do is click on it, create new city, if I have a Baron, I select the Baron, I put in 1 Baron, I go down here, city name, settle. So, it isn't necessarily a combative unit. Now you also use a Baron when you're attacking another castle and you want to keep that castle. As in, the siege hits and keeps hitting until the castle is yours. So, it is not a primary military unit. It's a specialized military unit, and there are all of those. So you only get 2 real units out of Trinsic Temple. A workshop gives you 3 units also. A workshop will give you 3 units, as does a shipyard. So, with the exception of a Moonglow Tower and the Trinsic Temple, you get 3 units per military building. Now, if you'll look over here, you'll see, in brackets, Zerks. If something is in brackets on this page, Zerk, Expo, MT, TT, Pally, Cats, Orgles, those are various shorthand that will be used by experienced players in chat and various other places when they want to refer to a specific thing, but don't want to type the entire thing out. Which is easier, Zerk or Berserker? So, it's just an abbreviation. Beyond that, you see TS1. Every unit that can be recruited through a training ground has a TS unit of 1. This means that they are infantry. There are several different movement speeds: Scout, Infantry, Cavalry, Siege Engines, and Ships. If it has a TS value of 1, it is automatically an infantry and moves at infantry speed. If it has a TS value of 2, it is Cavalry. And for some reason that didn't work very well. But TS2 for Crossbowmen and Knights. The variation, though, is Scouts, which have a TS value of 2. But they are Scouts and have their own unique movement speed. Which, if I go back over here, open the recruitment page, I will show it to you. Right here, Scout. Movement speed per field, 8 minutes. It is one of the fastest units. I think it is the fastest. Let me double check, because the only competing unit would be ships. Movement speed per field is 5 minutes, plus an hour total. So, if I wanted to move it 1 square, it'd be an hour and 5 minutes. So, yeah, Scout is kind of the fastest unit. Now, Baron, although it is infantry, classified TS unit, required space 1, it has its own movement speed also, at 40 minutes per field. So, if I want a Scout to move right here, it would take 8 minutes. If I wanted a Berserker to move right there, it would take 20 minutes. If I wanted a Baron to move right there from my city, it would take 40 minutes. So the Baron is the slowest unit. Sorry, I'm tired and I'm yawning. I'm tired and am yawning, so I apologize for that. So, now that I've shown you the different movement speeds, let me show you something else. When I say TS2, that applies to not just movement speed. It applies to its value as a unit in combat. Go over here. Go up. All the way up. Berserker. Right under production time, it says required space 1. This means I get 1 Berserker for 1 barracks space. For example, I have 5 open barrack space. I can recruit 5 troops. I can recruit 5 Berserkers. Now, it has an attack of 50. Let me go down. Knight. Required space 2. In the same 5 spaces that I could recruit 5 Berserkers, I can only recruit 2 Knights. Now, I have a total capacity of 10. I can have a total of 10 Berserkers or 5 Knights. So, let me look back over here. Attack against units, 90. That seems like an awful lot. Almost double that of a Berserker, right? Wrong. Remember, required space 2. So, I can have 10 Berserkers at 50 units, or 5 Knights at attack 90. So, this means that if you want an accurate idea of what the actual value is, divide these attack against units and defense values by its TS requirement. In this case, it's 2. So, I'm going to divide the 90 attack by 2, and I get 45. So it has less attack than a Berserker. Let me go back up here, and I will show you the strongest offensive unit in the game. A Mage. Attack against units, 70. Significantly more than a Berserker. Now, the other unit you can recruit out of a Moonglow Tower, which is what you use to get a Mage, is a Warlock. Required space 2, attack against units, 120. Divide that 120 by 2, because you have to if you want an accurate idea of its actual strength, and you get 60, less than a Mage. But it looks really impressive, and so some players get distracted by that. Now, I once heard War Galleons down here as described as the strongest offensive unit. There's a problem with this. Required space, 400. This means, if you want to actually know what the actual attack is, divide attack against units by 400, which will give you attack against units 30. And this is an offensive unit. So, a War Galleon has an attack against units of 30 per TS. Ranger has an attack against units of 30, which is why, although it is described as a defensive unit, it says also suited for raiding. It has a high attack, letting it raid dungeons effectively. A Paladin paladin, right here, has an attack against units of 60, but required space 2 divide by 2, attack against units 30. So it has the same attack as a ranger, which is why at the end of its description it says also suited for raiding, even though it's a defensive unit. Other than that, if it says defensive unit, pay attention to what it defends against. A ranger has 40 defense against infantry, but only 10 against cavalry. So if you know your enemy is defending with rangers, send knights. They will decimate the rangers without any problem. However, a guardian, right here, defense against cavalry, 50. Defense against artillery, 15. So if you know that your enemy is defending with guardians, you don't have to worry about sending catapults or rams. Now, let me go over here. Intrinsic Temple. The Templar and the Paladin are the only effective defense against mages and warlocks. The Templar is a infantry unit with a defense against magic at 50. The Paladin, which I showed you earlier, is a cavalry unit with a defense against magic of 45 per unit. Not quite as strong as a Templar, but still good at defending against mages. So if you see those two units defending a city or castle, do not send magic. It's a bad idea. And I think that just about covers most of it. There's one more thing I need to include, though. So, what is that one thing, you ask? Be patient, I'll show you. Right here. City Guard House. Build. Remember how I mentioned that there was that one weird building and the one weird unit? This is it. The City Guard House does not get an increase in recruitment speed by from a barracks. Recruitment speed of infantry is plus 6% because it gets plus 1 from the barracks. City Guard House, recruitment speed of city guards, plus 5% because it gets no bonus from the barracks. Furthermore, a city guard right here doesn't take up space in your barracks, which is why I can recruit 41 city guards when I only have 5 capacity left. So that's the only exception. Now, the problem with city guards is this. Look at their unit value. 10. Defense against everything, 10. So, Ranger, defense against infantry, 40. 4 times as effective. And it goes on down the list like that. Guardian, right here. Defense against cavalry, 50. 5 times as effective. So why is a city guard used if it's so inadequate in that way? The reason? It eats almost nothing. It eats 2 food a day. Ranger is about the closest you're going to get, and it eats 3 food a day. Furthermore, there is no capacity of how many city guards you can have. I could set, under Defense Minister, which I don't have active right here, I could set that I want 5 million city guards in a city, and it'll do it, providing adequate defense against any sort of attack against a palace, which is why city guards are usually found in palaces. So, that wraps it up. I think I've gone through anything. Please post if you have comments.